Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to the Broken Expanse. Today we'll be delving into some dark theories surrounding Generation 1 Pokémon. So if you don't want your childhood ruined, I'd suggest that this video isn't for you. With that being said, for those of you with darker inclinations, turn out the lights, sit back, and let's get into the video. Now, this has been floating around on the internet for some time now, and while I attempted to dig around to find a source for it, it appears that the author is, for all intents and purposes, unknown to the internet. The most that I could decipher is that it seemingly originated on 4chan at some point. It goes as follows. I'm what you would call a collector of bootleg Pokemon games, Pokemon Diamond and Jade, Chaos Black, etc. It's amazing the frequency at which you can find them at pawn shops, Goodwill, flea markets and such. They're generally fun, even if they are unplayable, which most of them are. The mistranslations and poor quality make them unintentionally humorous. I've been able to find most of the ones that I've played online, but there's one that I haven't seen any mention of. I bought it at a flea market about 5 years ago. Here's a picture of the cartridge, in case anyone recognizes it. Unfortunately, when I moved 2 years ago, I lost the game, so I can't provide you with any screen caps. Sorry about that. The game started with a familiar Nidorino and Gengar intro of the red and blue versions of the game. However, the press start screen had altered. Red was there, but the Pokemon did not cycle through. It also said black version under the Pokemon logo. Upon selecting new game, the game started the Professor Oak speech, and it quickly became evident that the game was essentially Pokemon Red. After selecting your starter, if you looked at your Pokemon, you had, in addition to who you picked, either Bulbasaur, Charmander or Squirtle, another Pokemon, Ghost. The Pokemon was level 1. It had the sprite of the ghosts that are encountered in Lavender Tower before obtaining the Slife Scope. It had one attack, Curse. I know that there is a real move named Curse, but the attack did not exist in Generation 1, so it appears that it was hacked in somehow. Defending Pokemon were unable to attack Ghost. It would only say that they were too scared to move. When the move Curse was used in battle, the screen would cut to black. The cry of the defending Pokemon would be heard, but it was distorted, played at a much lower pitch than usual. The battle screen would then reappear, and the defending Pokemon would be gone. If used in a trainer battle though, where the Pokeballs representing their Pokemon would appear in the corner, there would be one fewer Pokeball. The implication was that the Pokemon had died. What's even stranger is that after defeating a trainer and seeing Red received $200 for winning, the battle commands would appear again. If you selected Run, the battle would end as it normally does. Or you could select Attack and select Curse. If you did, upon returning to the overworld, the trainer's sprite would be gone. After leaving and re-entering the area, the spot where the trainer had been would be replaced with a tombstone, like the ones at Lavender Tower. The move Curse was not usable in all instances. It would fail against ghost Pokemon, for example. It would also fail if it was used against trainers that you would have to face again, such as your rival or Giovanni, but it was usable in your final battle against them. I figured this was a gimmick of the game, allowing you to use previously uncapturable ghosts. And because Curse made the game so easy, I essentially used it throughout the whole adventure. The game changed quite a bit after defeating the Elite Four though. After viewing the Hall of Fame, which consisted of Ghost and a couple of very underleveled Pokemon, the screen cut to black. A box appeared with the words, "Many years later." It then cut to Lavender Tower. An old man was standing, looking at the tombstones. You then realized this man was your character. The man moved only at half the normal walking speed. You no longer had any Pokemon with you, not even Ghost, who up to this point had been impossible to remove from your party. The overworld was entirely empty. There were no people at all. There were still the tombstones of the trainers that you used Curse on, however. You could go pretty much anywhere in the overworld at this point, though your movement was limited by the fact that you had no Pokemon to use HMs. And regardless of where you went, the music of Lavender Tower continued on an infinite loop. After wandering around for a while, I found that if you go through Diglett's cave, one of the cuttable bushes that normally blocks the path on the other side is no longer there, allowing you to advance and return to Pallet Town. Upon entering your house and going to the exact tile where you start the game, the screen would cut to black again. Then a sprite of a Caterpie appeared in place of my own. It was replaced by a Weedle, and then a Pidgey. Now I soon realized as the Pokemon progressed that these were all of the Pokemon that I had used Curse on. After the end of my rival's team, a youngster appeared, and then a Bugcatcher. These are all the trainers I had cursed. Throughout the sequence, the Lavender Town music was still playing, but it was slowly decreasing in pitch. By the time your rival appeared on screen, it was little more than a demonic rumble. Another cut to black. A few moments later, the battle screen suddenly appeared. Your trainer sprite had returned to that of an old man. Ghost appeared on the other side of him, along with the words, "Ghost wants to fight." You couldn't use items, and you, of course, had no Pokemon. If you tried to run, you simply couldn't escape. The only option was fight. Using fight would immediately cause you to struggle, which didn't affect Ghost at all, but did chip off a bit of your own HP. When it was Ghost's turn to attack, it would simply display 3 dots. Eventually, when your HP reached a critical point though, Ghost would finally use Curse. The screen cut to black a final time. Regardless of the buttons you pressed, you were permanently stuck in this black screen. At this point, the only thing you could do was turn off the Game Boy. When you played a game, New Game was the only option. The game had erased the file. I played through this hacked game many times, and every time the game ended with a sequence. Several times I didn't even use Ghost at all, though he was impossible to remove from the party. In these cases, it did not show any Pokemon or trainers, and simply cut to the climatic battle with Ghost. I'm not sure what the motives were behind the creator of this hack. It wasn't even widely distributed, so it was presumably not for monetary gain. It seems he was trying to convey some sort of message, though it seems I am the sole receiver of this message. I'm not entirely sure what it was. The inevitability of death? The pointlessness of it? Perhaps he was simply trying to morbidly inject death and darkness into a children's game. Regardless, this children's game has made me think, and it has made me cry. Lavender Town Syndrome is a phenomenon that supposedly occurred in Japan during the mid-90s, just after the release of Pokémon Red and Green. For any of you familiar with Gen 1 Pokémon, you know well enough the creepy sights and sounds of Lavender Town. For those of you who have not experienced it, I'll give you a brief overview now. It was a town where people went to bury their deceased Pokémon, complete with a change in the colouring of the overworld tiles to a somewhat dulled purple colour. A large 7-story Pokémon graveyard, where you could catch ghost-type Pokémon, as well as Cubones grieving their dead mothers, all whilst wearing her skull. And on the note of what we're discussing now, an extremely creepy and somber theme playing endlessly in the background. Allegedly the, let's say, uncomfortable music of Lavender Town caused psychological and physical harm to the Japanese children who played these early releases of the game. Such symptoms as hyper-aggressive outbursts, insomnia, migraines, and profuse nosebleeds were all commonly reported. Suspiciously as well though, the suicides of up to 200 children. The most usual methods they used were that of hanging or jumping from tall buildings. This was supposedly achieved by the game's developers, experimenting with binaural beats. These sounds were played at extremely high frequencies, and as such could not be heard by anyone but the young children. Anyone above the age of about 12 or 13 would no longer be able to hear them. So that begs the question, why? Well, no one really knows, and there appeared to be conflicting answers. However, it was alleged that a former Game Freak employee admitted that not only were the sounds directly responsible, but they had indeed been added intentionally, and that after whatever data was needed was collected, they silently recalled all early versions of the game, including most of the copies of Pokémon Green, under the pretense that they were bugged. And so the world was introduced to Pokémon Blue instead. Everyone who played Gen 1 Pokémon remembers their many battles with Gary, Red, Blue, or just about whatever you named him, your rival and Professor Oak's grandson. One thing you may remember is that he of course chooses the starter that your starter is weakest to, and that over time he accumulates more and more Pokemon until he reaches a full party, and that from then on, his party doesn't change, aside from evolutions, that is. Well, there is one exception. You see, on the SS Anne when you fight your rival, you'll notice that he has a now evolved Raticate. However, the next time you battle him, whilst every other Pokemon is still in his party, Raticate is not. More curious still, then, is that this next battle occurs at the previously mentioned Lavender Town. The theory goes on to say that, after your victory on the SS Anne, your rival races to the Pokemon Center to have his team revived, but due to difficulties on the ship, he was unable to arrive on time, and Raticate, unfortunately, succumbed to his injuries, dying in his Pokeball. And when you see your rival again in Lavender Town, he's not just stopping by, he's burying his departed companion. I certainly hope your childhood hasn't been too crushed by today's video, and that you perhaps even enjoyed it. And don't forget, you can let me know what you'd like me to cover next, either here or on my Reddit page, which I'll link in the description below. And if you want to spread a bit of love and positivity in the world, I'd really appreciate it if you click that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget that little bell notification icon too. It really means a lot. And as always, take care everyone, and don't stray too far from the path,
lest you end up in the broken expanse.